I guess, came before
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So
Sure.
this is a case control study. I'll
Oh,
I'll 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 say what I got, and you can tell me what I missed or got wrong. Um, with the exposure as steroid, continuous measure of steroid metabolome. There are 27 components. I don't understand what that means, but I wanted to ask about that. And then yeah, I think you sort of joined as she was talking about the outcome, and she's in the process of writing a grant. Is that right?
Yes, in full
And
transparency, like it's going in real soon.
okay, okay. And it seems like one of the biggest question marks is how to do a power calculation for this kind of scenario, particularly case control study, which actually I don't personally have experience with. I'm sure there's software out there, but maybe Jimmy, you know something about that. But I think before we get into that, we can,
but
um,
so the exposure you
yeah.
said was a continuous, like steroid or something, and some continuous measure of the metabolite. Can you
Yeah,
expand a
so
little bit on that?
the steroid metabolome looks at by components, I meant it's metabolites. So there's 27 different metabolites that we measure. Some of them are estrogen metabolites, some of them are androgen metabolites, and we have glucocorticoids, which are stress hormones. Um, And so we can look at each one individually as an exposure, but we also look at them grouped in their like biologically relevant grouping. So looking at the estrogens together, looking at the androgens together, and then we also look at them as ratios. So like the ratios of androgens to estrogens, androgens to glucocorticoids. I'm sorry about my list. Um,
When you say that they're grouped together, what does that mean?
Yeah.
like we sum them.
Oh, you sum them. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's not complicated. We sum them. Yeah.
Okay. So you're looking at various exposures. You're interested in some relationship between steroid metabolomes and endometriosis, and do you plan to do multiple analyses? One focusing on the estrogens, like summing those up, continuous measure of like estrogens, continuous measure of androgens. Are these all, is one of these kind of the primary analysis? Is there one where you're like summing them all together?
The
How are you,
primary is probably going to be just the summed.
okay,
And then we look at the individual metabolites because there are some that have been found to be specifically related. Um,
okay.
And when
and
you
then
say
we
some, do
all,
you mean all 27?
yes, so there is a multiple comparisons
No, no, no.
issue.
What I mean is, sorry, so the primary, when you say sum, it's like you just sum all 27 of them, and then
No,
you
so
measure. No, okay.
we sum the estrogens together, the androgens together, the um,
So,
glucocorticoids together.
Okay, so each of those, so you have sort of three primary analyses,
Sorry,
is it?
and progestogens. That's right. Yeah.
And then what was the other thing you said? Or like a shorthand version
Progestin
of it? No, no,
progestogens. Oh,
the one before. The,
glucocorticoids.
yeah, glucocort. Sorry, I'm not a.
You can call them stress hormones. That's fine.
Okay, yeah. This is. I'm sure this is like, yeah, human biology 101.
No, most people don't study these, which is what, so it's not
Oh,
actually.
okay, okay. So it's not okay. Yeah.
No.
and when you say case control study, what do
Hmm.
you mean by that? Like
So
you're
we
gonna
are,
collect, yeah, yeah, like is it that you're gonna collect like 100 just to make something up, like 100 women who had endometriosis and 100 women who did not, and
yep,
then
we're gonna do 2 to 1, but yes.
2 to 1,
Okay.
okay, two to
Two,
one, and then so like two, where it's double the number with endometriosis or double the controls. Okay.
Double
yeah.
controls. Yeah, that makes sense. And do you have sort of ballpark? I mean, is like what sort of sample size do you think you can reasonably budget
So
for?
we have budgeted for 180 cases and 360 controls.
Okay, 360. Yeah, I see. And maybe you said, but I don't recall exactly. What data set are you drawing these from?
So
Or
this
like
is
some registry?
we're working with colleagues at BU. They have a preconception cohort called Presto, and we're going to work with them to specifically recruit people with endometriosis into their already going cohort.
Okay. And then you said there was no real time aspect, but is that I mean, does that mean that they're measured the exposure is met the steroid metabolomes are measured at some time. Is that like yeah, and in fact yeah, when exactly would they sort of be diagnosed with endometriosis or not? Or like when would it be certain that someone doesn't have endometriosis? Or
So
is
these
this
are both going
all
to be
cross-sectional
baseline.
from the same?
It's going to be baseline for both, yeah.
What is that?
There's no
Yeah, baseline is there's no follow-up, right? So baseline just means this is just purely cross-sectional, all measured at the same time.
Yeah, there's no curative treatment for endometriosis, so whether or not you have a diagnosis doesn't really change the processes that are going on in your body. It with the exception of there's some if you're on hormonal therapeutics, but because it's a preconception cohort, which means a cohort of people who are trying to get pregnant, it's people
Hmm.
who can't be on hormonal birth control and also people who aren't on fertility treatments. So that's why the cohort is like particularly good for this.
Hmm.
But there shouldn't be anything about the timing of when we take these measurements that should matter with the endometriosis diagnosis.
Okay. And then what's kind of the motivation for studying this relationship? Is
And
this to like
Wouldn't it be the
target? Yeah, go ahead.
endometriosis? It's like throughout the course of, I guess like, is it that women like I guess they're going to see their OB-GYN and then they're trying to get pregnant and then how do you diagnose if someone has endometriosis?
so, right, so this is actually an important part. Endometriosis, the only way to get a confirmatory diagnosis is through laparoscopic surgery, which most people don't want to do.
Oh,
So the idea is to develop a non-invasive biomarker that would indicate do you have endometriosis and then maybe the subtype.
And
This
so
is
the sorry, go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say this is so I'm a co-I in the study. The PI, she does biomarker stuff for breast cancer, and so this is sort of we're taking that and putting this trying to apply it to endometriosis. There's also a second, the aim too of this is looking at endocrine disrupting chemicals and the steroid metabolome and endometriosis, just to give you a bigger picture about that. Should be frozen to the end.
And so these steroid metabolomes are sort of candidates for biomarkers.
So the steroid metabolome and then the metabolites that make up it. So in breast cancer, they found that like there are certain ratios that predict breast cancer risk.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, and so the thought is, can we look at the steroid metabolome with regards to endometriosis and maybe if there's a particular way that it's like signaling, that would be a useful biomarker so people don't have to get the time to diagnosis for endometriosis is the average time is 9 years.
Hmm.
And so people are trying to find other ways to
Uh-huh. So with breast cancer, they've done this with metabolites in particular.
with the steroid metabolome. Yeah.
Okay. And so is the plan to sort of like try those same ratios or
Mhm. Yeah.
okay, as well as just cumulatively. And ratio would be like percentage of the whole, so the metabolome is all of them collectively. Is that correct? Is that the
The
correct
metabolome is
terminology?
all of them correct collectively.
Okay.
Yeah. Ratio
Okay.
would be
So,
like glucocorticoids to androgens. Like what is the ratio between the summed
oh, okay.
amount of those two kinds of metabolites? Like what's going on in your body between those two things?
Okay. And how many of those sort of ratios will you consider?
Well, there are 4 groups, so
Like 4 choose 2?
yeah.
Like each pair?
Yeah.
I see. But how are you writing the grant in terms of like primary versus secondary analyses? It sounds like are the ratios secondary or
I believe they are. I think the grouping is primary, the biologically
yeah,
relevant groupings.
okay.
And then the ratios, I think they're also I think we consider them primary, but we can check the primary
Okay.
if needed.
Yeah, I mean that ends up being quite a few
Yeah.
comparisons to fill under primary. I could see
Yeah.
reviewers potentially giving you a hard time about that.
Yeah.
But I guess, maybe, this can be driven by what's done in breast cancer. Maybe that can help you narrow. Well, I don't know how different of a disease that is if there's recent.
I mean, it's a different disease, but we are hoping we can do something very similar. It's just honestly,
Sorry,
yeah, we're
my
hoping that we can
headphones
do
did
something.
something weird. Okay, I can hear you now.
We're hoping that we can do something similar. The biostatistician who did the calculation for that, I have her code, but honestly, I don't understand what she did. So,
Oh, I see. Is she still involved or?
Not on this project.
I see. Okay.
So everyone has laparoscopic surgery?
So the gold standard diagnosis is laparoscopic surgery. Many people have based on their symptom profile and stuff like that, like they will get like an assumed diagnosis. And then there's also imaging that I think what we're going to do based on our consults with our clinician collaborators is that like initially we were going to do surgery as like all cases were going to be surgery. Our clinician collaborator has said that these days almost nobody gets surgery. And so uh, if there's like highly suggestive imaging, that's going to be our primary like determination of cases. We'll do a sensitivity analysis only with people with surgery, but it's going to be people with imaging as opposed to self-report or symptom-based
So everyone will have the imaging then, and then you'll decide.
for cases, yeah.
Oh, so you won't have some that were only diagnosed by laparoscopic surgery, or is that you wouldn't do that unless you'd already done imaging first?
My
Anyway.
understanding as a non-clinician is that sort of like the last you would do like there's like
Okay.
symptom management, things like that. Then they do imaging, so they do transvaginal ultrasounds and MRI, and then laparoscopic surgery is like the
Okay.
last
Yeah.
place we're thinking.
Okay.
So it sounds like you won't do this for the controls. Is that right?
Well, sorry.
The imaging?
So generally people aren't going to have imaging if they didn't have any reason to.
Yeah.
We are going to have access to everybody's EMR. So, and I think we're going to there are some symptoms that could be indicative of endometriosis, but they're also sort of nonspecific. So like menstrual irregularities, pelvic pain. For the controls, we also want to do a sensitivity thing of eliminating people that have anything like that, but we don't want to over healthify our controls, if that makes sense. But it is difficult because yeah, we're not going to have the same people don't get imaging if they don't have any reason to.
Yeah.
But to that point, like, are there certain things that you do want to also control for or adjust for?
So we're going to match on parity, so on how many babies somebody had, because endometriosis is related to fertility, can cause infertility. And it also, well, this is related to the aim two that I had mentioned that is endocrine disrupting chemicals. When people have babies, it flushes their system of chemicals. So if you have more babies, you have less chemicals in your system, and then that's also related to endometriosis. So we're going to control, it's normal to control for parity. Well, so we'd like to match on parity, on sex, and then on like the year time frame of when they're
Wait,
recruited for the study.
are these not all women?
Sorry, did I say sex? That is not what I meant. I meant
Age. Okay, sorry. And what did you say
Yeah,
after
no.
that? Okay. I
And
mean, you
like
are matching us trivially, yeah.
yeah, and like either 6 months or year time frame of when recruitment. I mean, in theory, recruitment should all be happening within an 18-month period. So that may not matter, but
Wait, what is?
I
Yeah,
don't understand what this is.
what is recruitment?
so
Like,
so there is a pre-existing cohort that recruits people that has ongoing recruitment. They've had ongoing recruitment for the past 13 years. Um, because with the current cohort, about 3% have endometriosis. They have never specifically tried to recruit people with endometriosis into the cohort. So they're going to have to change their recruitment a little bit so that we can get more people for our cases.
okay.
They still are going to have to comply with all of the criteria for normal recruitment. So between the ages of 21 and 45, looking to get pregnant, not on hormonal birth control, not taking fertility drugs. But about 10% of women have endometriosis. So it's not hard. Like this is not a rare disease. It's just that they're just going to be a little bit more specific about targeting. So the idea is to specifically recruit some people with endo, but also keep on recruiting everybody else, and that we will take people. They recruit about 2,000 people a year. So it's anyways.
Okay.
So
So you're not.
it's
Wait, go ahead. So you're not using like historical data. Not, I mean, you will only have your cases and controls will all be following some like initiation of, I don't know, sometime after your grant hopefully gets funded, right? Okay,
yeah.
I see. And is okay. Like, could you use? Sorry, go ahead, Jimmy.
I guess I still don't understand what this third matching criteria is.
The time.
Yeah.
You will establish some time zero, is that right? But when you start actually recruiting patients, and then it's like time from that baseline until when they were actually like you get these measurements. Is that what it is?
Yeah. I mean, frankly, it's probably that part probably isn't going to matter because if everyone's recruited within an 18-month period,
Yeah.
normally we care about time. So for something like endocrine disrupting chemicals, because they're environmental exposures, we want to match people from similar time periods because
Okay.
there's a lot of other it helps control for stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, so this is like time from when you the collect
Exactly.
their samples for doing
Yep.
the metabolite editing. Okay, I see. Okay.
So those are the main three things that you would match. You would match on these,
Yeah.
or like age would be by sort
Probably
of
5 years.
categorized 5-year
Yeah.
windows. Okay, I see.
And so I guess you recruit women, and at that time you'll sort of, I guess, know like whether they have endometriosis or not. Is that correct? And then you'll do collect samples from them to do the metabolite analysis. Is that correct?
Correct. So there's
Okay.
a baseline questionnaire where we ask about, do you have endometriosis? Yes, no. That's then going to get confirmed through medical records. And then within 2 weeks of the enrollment, there's a protocol for collecting biospecimens, which is blood, urine.
Okay. And since this is, well, let me think. Since this is,
if they say they have yes, then that probably means that they have some imaging that's there. And
Well,
so like basically what you're saying is you'll confirm that there's imaging that's there that says that they have this. What if they tell you that they have endometriosis, but there's like no evidence of it?
well, so we're gonna ask, do you have endometriosis? But then also like, has it been confirmed via imaging? Has it been confirmed via surgery? Yes, it's possible that people will misreport, but that's why we're gonna do the EMR thing. The EMR thing is to check whether those things are true, but it's also for the subtypes because so there are three subtypes of endometriosis. There's endometriomas, which are basically like they're called chocolate cysts, which is a disgusting image. But that shows up that often will show up on imaging. There's deep infiltrating endometriosis, which also it's transvaginal ultrasounds or MRIs. And so we want to know which of these three subtypes they have. Although the subtypes, people can also have more.
You said endometriomas, deep infiltrating. What was the third one?
Superficial peritoneal endometriosis. You can SPE as well.
If they say they have endometriosis, but there's like no record of it in the EMR, then what do you do with them? Do you exclude them? It's like, do you guys, okay, these people are just not eligible. Like it's not like they would go into the no endometriosis group. They just,
Correct.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. And then I guess you also, like, since you were saying, like, you also collect these symptoms that are sort of non-specific, like that. But so, like, some of these controls might have these symptoms, but like in some sense, like that's okay because you're saying that in some sense, the definition of case is self-report and then confirmation in the records.
Yeah, so pelvic
Yeah,
pain, a lot of women have pelvic pain.
yeah,
For some women it's because of endometriosis, for some women it's because of fibroids or cysts or there are
yeah,
lots of other reasons. So
yeah.
it is indicative, but it's not
Okay,
and we don't want to rule out everybody who
understood.
has some symptom like that. The other thing I wanted to mention is our colleagues at BU, they have done some um what's the word? Not confirmatory, but they have looked at how correlative self-report endo is with confirmed in the EMR and they have done that in the past and it's been good. So we're not super worried that it's not gonna match like there may be some, but in the past that has worked very well, that self-report has been highly correlated with an EMR and prognosis.
and the going back to the kind of the purposes of the study and like identifying biomarkers is the idea that you're sort of identifying biomarkers of like existing endometriosis and this is like a screening kind of thing, or so this isn't about like predicting future develop, like you're at risk, you're at higher risk of, okay, so in that
No, this
sense
is
this, the fact that it's cross-sectional is kind of what you want. It's kind of fine in that sense. It's not, yeah, I
yeah.
see.
It's both for diagnostic and then also if it can be indicative of the subtype, which would influence treatment. But that, as I said, that feels like a sub-analysis, and also I'm still worried about
Yeah,
how we it.
yeah. I think just classify that as secondary analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
It's really helpful to hear your questions because it makes me think about the things that I need to write in like the risks and
Oh
alternative
yeah.
strategies. But
Oh yeah.
So what information do you have in terms of like, is there information you have in terms of uh, uh, the levels of these metabolomics in
Right.
the in either the two disease cohorts, like the disease and controls?
So we don't have that because the data hasn't been collected yet. I do have there. I had two ideas of where we might get like effect. What information? One is so from our birth control from our breast cancer. Um, we know like what the case controls. Not that we would expect it would be the same, but like what a normal range can look like for these metabolites. And then it's a little bit tricky because it was done in blood as opposed to urine, and it's measuring different processes. There have been a couple of preliminary analyses done of particular steroid metabolites um, in women with and without endometriosis, not by us, by other groups. So they looked at it in blood instead of urine, that, but they did find significant differences for a couple of things. Um,
And you're doing it in urine?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the steroid metabolism is well, it can be measured in blood too, but yeah, it anyway, yeah, we're doing it in urine.
Okay. So
And you don't have so in this cohort, like the existing data, this hasn't been
This
collected.
has not been measured, no.
Okay.
okay. The Would you think that I so the I think the other groups like where they did it in blood, that is something that you could try, right? Like one question I have is, do you think that it'll be differences, right? Like the effects will be larger in blood or smaller in blood versus urine? Like if you had to like if the effects are smaller in blood, right? Then like if you use
Then
those
you can say
systems,
like
yeah.
You
If
can
the
we
get
effects
expect
are
it.
larger, then you'd want to hedge, right?
Yeah, the
Like
problem is that it's not really measuring the same thing.
uh
So because one is measuring like circulating hormones and the other one, so in blood it measures more like circulating hormones and in urine
uh-huh
it's measuring more like the production and excretion,
uh-huh
which is not exactly the same thing.
uh
Um, Truthfully, I don't know enough about like I'm not the steroid metabolism person. My PI, like I do chemical stuff, she does this stuff, and so what she might know, I don't know
okay,
well enough.
okay.
Um,
Yeah. But I guess that's just something that you could ask her and
yeah.
see if she thinks
Mhm.
like one would be more conservative versus the other, or which one.
Hmm.
Um, the the
I so I guess you have good reason for focusing on urine instead of blood, or might you do
We're
both,
not
or
gonna
is
do
that
blood.
just going to make it okay?
We're not gonna do that. It measures something different, and
Okay.
the breast cancer stuff did it in urine. Like there's no,
Oh, okay. I see.
yeah.
um
But for controls, I guess, do you have you sort of know um like you sort of know the distributions of these?
We know not in this specific cohort, but we have data from other like
Or yeah,
reproductive
that's
age
what I mean.
women.
Right, right.
We have data of what the distribution of the urinary steroid metabolome in reproductive age women. Yes.
Yes, yes.
okay.
Which hopefully is represented well by your sample. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't want to use your cohort anyway, right? Because in some sense, because mm, mm, the inputs that go into a power calculation should be external to the data set. Like you don't
Yeah.
use your own data
Yeah.
to do the
But they
power
haven't
calculation.
But they're not going to collect this data until after it's funded anyway, right?
I mean,
Yeah. So
we
that's
can't. We don't have it. It hasn't. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah. So
We
yeah,
haven't sent those out. So
yeah. So
yeah.
okay. So just really neat things like means and standard deviations, if you can,
okay.
from like these
Control population.
for the control part, and also just for the blood from that study that did in the blood, what those means and standard deviations are, because that might provide some
Yeah. Yeah.
sense of what
That's
an
Some
right.
effect
signal.
might be. But then also like
Yeah.
if you have the mm, mm, for the urinary metabolome in reproductive age women, right? If you have that for just controls, right, from the literature, that could be because maybe what I can do is say like, oh, if the effect from the blood study has this effect, right? And if you have like some urinary metabolome estimates from reproductive women, right? What does this effect translate to in like that you would see in urine, and does this make sense to you guys? Right.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you want me to find those things right now, or how do you guys work with this?
if it's easy, you could look for it right now, but you can also, I
Okay.
guess, also send it to us. Yeah, like if you have them right now, and then
I
that.
did pull them up. Let me see if I can find them. Um, the other thing I
Uh,
didn't know,
Go ahead.
I guess, well, uh, once again, this is for the sub, but I also have the prevalences of the subtypes if that's a
Hmm.
I don't think that matters.
okay.
Yeah, because the power calculation would be just on the primary end. Yeah,
Okay.
and
I
that'll
think we
be
may have gotten ourselves into a little bit of the subtypes, it is important for us to, because it's one of the things that the funders are particularly interested in. Um, but because they're not mutually exclusive, that's part of the reason I'm like pretty uncomfortable. Like I'm just not sure how to
yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so okay, I can look up the serum metabolome stuff really quick.
Um, you had brought up the breast cancer study, but do you
Yes.
like why? What would you expect the differences in the breast cancer study to be similar to the differences here? Like, why do you think that the like in like a study that's looking at a different disease that the differences would be similar for another disease?
That's totally fair. I don't actually,
Oh,
it's not that it's actually that that's the only other study that's done it.
okay,
Um,
okay.
so and
Oh,
only in the sense that like breast cancer is also hormonally driven. We found this with this.
oh,
Hmm.
Doesn't I don't necessarily think that like the results are going to be similar as far as what we find,
oh,
because I would
Hmm.
assume that
I
the
mean,
hormonal processes are different.
yeah,
So
that
that's
are
just the only other.
I see, I see.
are breast cancer and endometriosis correlated?
That's a great question that I don't know the answer to. Endometriosis and endometrial cancer are correlated.
That makes
Um,
sense. Yeah. I
I
feel like
do
if
not
they were,
know.
you would know, but I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
Maybe not.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, that's a good
Okay.
question, but I don't know. We're not expecting that these
Yeah.
processes are that's
Yeah.
not how we're
Yeah.
doing it.
Mhm.
Um, endometriosis is actually just one of these things that like only recently has there been more like funding and stuff available to look at, and so there's just not a
Mm.
whole lot that's known
Oh,
about how it works.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
breast cancer, there's a lot about.
Yeah. Yeah. So is this, do you view this as somewhat kind of low-hanging fruit in terms of is just like a thing that people should have looked into by now, or like is this kind of obvious thing to? I mean, yeah.
So most people don't look at the starting metabolome. Um,
Mhm.
I think, obvious, I don't know. I guess it just depends on like who you are and how you think about these
Okay.
things.
Yeah,
And like for me, like I'm a chemical person, so to me it feels pretty obvious to look at like how
yeah.
chemicals affect your hormones and then how those things, but um I don't know.
Okay. That was more curiosity question.
Yeah. I think as far as what has been done so far, there's been a lot of like gene sequencing things, like single cell, um a lot of the some of it I think a lot of the work has been done. My understanding is looking at like where it comes from, as opposed to this is just sort of a this is like
Yeah,
this would be helpful to know. Like it might help with etiology because if it turns out that like the chemicals are very clearly influencing
yeah,
um
yeah,
your metabolome, but it also might just be that like if you have this particular signature, it may be indicative of endometriosis, which can help make diagnosis faster, you know? So
yeah.
And just out of curiosity, did the breast cancer study also take a similar approach? So this case control design and then look at the
Yeah,
comparison
yeah.
they
of the.
used a nested case control from a pre-existing cohort.
Hmm.
I see.
But also, also cross-sectional
Um,
or
no,
retrospective.
I think this was from the BCFR. I don't know if any of you work with Mary Bacteri.
Oh,
She
No,
had
I haven't, but we know who she is.
she
yeah.
so she has these like long-term breast cancer cohorts that
Oh,
follow so the
Hmm.
breast cancer registry and families and stuff like that. So they have longitudinal data.
oh,
Um,
Hmm.
I wasn't involved in that study, so I'm not sure, but it was a nested case control. So I think
Hmm.
it was people enrolled and then they took people who
okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I see. I see.
um
yeah. For etiology, though, you might, uh, yeah. I mean, I don't know the. Maybe it could be the case that that the metabolome evolves over time, and or maybe it like is affected, that could be itself affected by endometriosis. For purposes
mhm.
of diagnosis, you don't really care,
Yeah.
but yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it could be hypothesis generating,
Yeah, there may be some evidence that endometrial lesions produce hormones, so that also,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, because it's meant to be diagnostic, we're not super worried about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, okay, let me go back to the questions. Sorry, I got
No, no worries.
Oh
distracted by
yeah. We
conversation.
we we distracted you. Yeah.
No worries. Because I feel like this could just be a comparison of movements, right? Like since with the case control design, we can just like we basically treat it as just kind of two groups and compare it as like the mean distribution of these steroids between the two groups. And
I
Yeah.
think I think we're thinking for the basic thing we can just do linear. Like it's a pretty simple like a match. No, what's the word? When you have to match on case control status. Not on case control status, when you have to match on the
You're doing a match design, like, is that when you're matching on the factors you want to control for? Is that
yeah,
what you're getting at?
yeah. I'm
Yeah. So
blanking on what it was, but
there's the matching element. What are you blanking on, the analysis or
I'm blanking on
design?
I'm remembering like my quals and there was like a like what it's called when you have to like unmatch case control design and then you have to also incorporate into the regression
Mm.
the variables that you matched on and I'm totally blanking on what it's called.
I mean, I guess there are different ways of analyzing match data, oftentimes we like introduce a random effect. I don't do a lot with matching myself.
I already sort of forgot what the last matching criteria is, but
the time to recruitment, parity age, and then recruitment time, and these would all be discretized.
And the recruitment time with the main point of that is oh, okay, got it. Okay.
I mean, it sounded like you might not even need to match on that.
We may not need to, but conditional logistic regression, that's what I was thinking of.
What is it?
Conditional logistic regression is what I was thinking of.
Okay.
Like with that time, like you could basically just bucket that, right? And there would be like buckets of like, and these characters.
And we may not need to if everybody's collected close enough.
And these characteristics, I'm not certain that you necessarily need to use like something like conditional logistic regression. You could just, for example, adjust for parity in age, right? Because it's not like age. The age is sort of like what am I trying to say? It's not like twin matching, right? Twin matching is like, you know, there are particular characteristics of the person that like, you know, there's no real like way to like put like a twin with another person, right? But like, say if you pick someone that's like 25, right? Any other 25, like the one that you're picking doesn't really like
it'll do.
Any other 25 will do.
They're exchangeable in a way.
Yeah, that's right. And so I'm not certain that you necessarily need to use something like conditional logistic regression, right? And you could just adjust for it, right? In that sense. Yeah. And
But what do you mean by adjust? Like she's already adjusting by matching.
Yeah. But I guess
the purpose
is like since you were talking about like for like doing analysis, like I'm actually okay with it since you've already matched on the characteristics, right? You just compare the groups. Like
just ignore the fact that you've matched. Don't worry about intra-match correlation. Is that what you're getting at?
So that's like I'm fine with that too. I guess I just meant like if you wanted to take into account matching factors in the analysis, right? I think it's fine just to like because like these things it's not like twin matching, right? It's just like any other 25-year-old fine, right? So
sorry, are you saying that you wouldn't also include it in the model because you already?
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to. Yeah. Because you've already balanced that like that characteristic by design, right? Between the two groups.
Okay.
Yeah. And because you know how and also like in the phase control, right? Design, right? You can estimate like for example the proportion of the exposure given the disease, right? And so here the exposures are continuous, right? So if you look at the proportion of this, and so like when you're looking at it, it's like things exposure given disease. So this here would be the metabolites given disease. So here I feel like you could just treat it as like looking at means and doing the comparison. Okay, so yeah, do you happen to have the
Sorry, no, I've been
no, sorry.
You can also just send that by email if it's too difficult. Yeah, or you know, if it's more efficient to just end the meeting and you know. But if there are more things you want to discuss, then you can use this time and then you can look it up subsequently. I know it's not easy to.
And what is it?
I mean, yeah.
Well, so this is the grant is due next month.
So the 20th.
That's the external deadline.
Yeah, we're sending everything to Spot today, but it's a foundation grant. It's not a
Okay.
NIH grant, and
Oh,
so the science will probably be tweaking it until
yeah, but thinking about it, there will be four primary outcomes, and if we're thinking about these as just mean comparisons, right? Then if you could get us like means and standard deviations for the two groups for each of these four main outcomes, right? Which is the sum of the estrogens, the sum of the androgens, the sum of the glucocorticoids, and the sum of the progestins, right? Like if you
sorry,
have
do
that
you
type of,
want you want the means for like in an underlying population for each
in
of those?
so for example, you said that the that paper had looked at blood, right?
Mhm.
Like blood steroid metabolites where they compared
Yes, they didn't look at the same. They didn't.
uh,
Problem is, they didn't look at the exact same things.
oh, I see, I see.
Some of the specific metabolites they looked at are the same, but
Oh, if
I
you
don't think I can give you like here is exactly the same thing as what because that's sort of
I
part of the
see.
novelty also.
Yeah, I
Um,
see, I see, I see. So when you're going back to that blood paper and you're looking at the looking for things like to like kind of get us, I guess. If you can get us like if there are any of the things that you look at that they study in the blood paper that is sort of similar to what you're looking at, like it could be like the sum of the estrogens or like a particular
mhm,
estrogen that you guys think matters,
mhm.
right?
Yep,
So
yep.
I think look for a some of those that you think kind of like match what kind of goes on with your study, and maybe a couple of those, because the one thing I can try to do is give you some calculations based off of like looking at a few of those and seeing if, and I'll fix your sample size, right? I'll fix your sample size at what was it again? 180 and 360, right?
Hmm.
And based off of these effects, right? These like basically two means and two standard deviations, right? That you could get me from a few metabolites, right? To see like say, oh, based on this information, which we understand is imperfect, does this suggest that this study would have some sort of power to detect some of these differences? Yeah.
I do not think I'm gonna be able to get this summed because I don't think they did that.
Okay, okay.
I can
Then
get you
just like
the.
just like a few individual ones that you think
Okay.
matter. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then well, yeah. So essentially everything's just sort of like a rough survey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where we try to get
Yeah.
as close as we can. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, means and standard deviation. And make sure it's not standard errors, right? If it's standard errors that they report, then I need the sample size because I'll
Okay.
need to like, just recalculate the standard
Okay.
deviation on that.
Okay. That's helpful to know.
Yeah. And since it's four, Caleb, what do you think about doing since it's four of these? Would you threshold the alpha at like just do a Bonferroni for the four? Or what would you do? Or yeah, what would you suggest
Uh,
doing here? Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe both. I don't know how.
You mean do a calculation with just using 0.05 and do a calculation with a
Yeah.
Bonferroni? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. That makes sense.
I think. I
Yeah.
guess you don't know how the. Yeah. That's maybe how I would do it.
Okay. Does that make sense, Dr. Siegel? What I'll try to give you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
How do you guys normally work? Will you send like this was really helpful to be honest, like
Uh,
apart from it's just helpful to talk out.
Huh.
Do you send like a paragraph? Do you send code? Like how does it I've never
I'll
done this
send you
before.
some output, right? And like maybe a few sentences just like talk like that might describing what was done, and then like maybe some sample numbers that you can try to
Okay.
modify. Yeah. Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. I also want to say like, we're under a deadline. You guys are not. Like I really appreciate, but like I'm do whatever. You know what I mean? Like you guys are doing
Yeah, yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Like I don't
I'll at least give you the numbers. And
right, but
then
I'm just saying like I am not expecting you guys to go out of your way because like we we're very behind, then that's not your problem. You know what I mean? But it's
No, no,
helpful to have an outside.
Nice.
once you give me the estimates and they're what I think they are, this should be doable. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and were there, in our couple minutes left, were there other questions that you, I guess, kind of had thoughts about?
I mean, I
The
was
one thing to emphasize, though, is that I think you want to be clear about what are your primary analyses, right? What are non-primary analyses? Because like basically all the design stuff is about the primary analysis. And I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes in grants that's not clear, right? To just sort of be clear about what are the primary things, like what things you consider primary, what things you consider not.
Yeah, that's actually what I was gonna say. That's what I'm thinking about right now because, and I am still a little bit concerned about the subtype thing just because like that is an emphasis of the funder and it's something that we have tried to like emphasize even though
I mean,
I
like I think you can still try to emphasize it, right? It's just that like, sometimes there's even less information about certain things, right? So like in some sense everything's exploratory because you have more information, right? But like there's sort of like different degrees of things on the continuum from exploratory to confirmatory, and like in some sense the subtext is even more exploratory because it sounds like there's even less information on that, and it's also a little trickier because like again the it's not mutually exclusive groups, and then also then you're even cutting up more the 180 into even smaller networks.
Yeah, you have even less power.
Yeah, so like there's like it could still be a main point of what you're doing. It's just that yeah,
It
how
doesn't have to be the primary.
yeah.
Sorry, I have to run to another meeting, but
Okay.
but yeah, best of luck.
thank you.
Yeah,
This was really helpful.
See you
glad to
soon.
hear it. Yeah, have a
All
good
right, and
weekend.
I'm sorry, who am I emailing with this information?
Oh,
Me.
you can email. Yeah,
Yeah.
Do I have
You can
your
email me and Caleb. Yeah. So I think we were both on the invite or something.
okay.
But
Okay,
but
great.
but my uni is JKB 2108.
JKB
2108.
2108.
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. And we have a feedback form. Like Zoe just put it in the
Okay.
chat, and they told me it's very, very fast to do. And do you know the console number,
Yeah,
Zoe?
it's 2112.
Okay. Okay. 2112. And were you able to open the link?
Um, let me do that now. I was just taking down your uni.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Jimmy, I also gotta go. I have a meeting with Shane.
See you. Yeah, yeah.
We'll see
Have a
you.
good
Okay, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Okay.
Take care.
Yeah, take care. Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.